And Hysterics are preaching back here for OMG taking on TOP. And for OMG, they've dug themselves quite a hole, Preacher.
And how are they gonna get out? That is an answer that they cannot answer, Hysterics. I mean, OMG, quite frankly speaking, this is the worst form that they've looked ever since their triumph over SKT in 2015 MSI. And there is no real easy fix or even band-aid solution for this team, so we will just have to see if they can pull this one back from TOP, who haven't been doing too well either.
I think I'd agree with that because for TOP, you know, their entrance into the LPL Spring Split hasn't been the greatest, and they sit with the likes of Vici Gaming. Another story we have to contemplate is how they get out of their hole, but from the start, you can see that Camille was locked in straight away, and for OMG, getting those comforts off the board, the Rakan, the Sejuani, and the Gnar. Marin's so comfortable on that Gnar, and you can see straight away the response, taking away icons, Azir, the Zoe, and the GP from Xiang.
Huge ban away to make sure that the Ornn has no counter. It was thrown over to TOP, but TOP didn't really want a response, so they didn't pick up the Ornn, instead went for the Galio, which is very strong in its own right, in order to counter the Camille. This is mind games going all around, and so far, at the very least, it looks like OMG are winning it. This isn't their problem though. Their problem is never champ select. It's always when we get into game.
I mean, how do they win it though? Because OMG, they've taken the Talia, the Ornn as well, which in 8.2 is still a priority. But we see the strength in Galio and Tahm-Kench, and now for XX, he's got the Kha'Zix, which is an S tier jungler.
I mean, I would say that Kha'Zix is possibly the best solution right now, given that everybody else is banned away. Very strange to see, however, that the Camille has risen in priority to the point where Jarvan is completely out of the meta, but we'll just allow OMG to do their own way. I mean, this is still a very good, concise team composition where they've left out their bottom lane. You can already see what they are going for. It's a double lockup of both the Camille ultimate and the Talia ultimate that, while they don't have a lot of damage, will divide and conquer the side of TOP.
I mean, Fire Lolly has gone the Camille jungle in the past, but has also, more often than not, gone the Jarvan, so it's those transitions that we see from the OMG jungler, and the ban away from Fiora leaves it a little bit curious, as we can see most likely that it's just TOP with their top laner. However, that could have been a good counter pick. Kalista and Taric off the board, and now for OMG, they have to decide if they're going to potentially take away that AD carry.
I mean, I doubt that there are many AD carries that you want to take away. If you simply want to add to more of the CC that we see coming through with this team composition, you could go for something like a Xayah and Braum, very strong lane that isn't necessarily countered by the side of TOP. But no, Chelly, he's going bold.
Okay, so bold indeed. As the Ezreal will be locked in, the response against that Varus, and AD carry is not taken off the board, even getting rid of the cannon instead of something like the Sion that has had that risen priority.
Oh lord, I cannot believe that they even hovered it. I mean, I doubted that it was going to be a Sion, but we have seen Sion supports in the past. Let's see where this goes to.
Yeah, Sion support was just going to touch on that. If they do pick this up, then we can confirm that that is definitely a Camille jungle. Ornn we've seen in the transition phase, but never really stuck, and Sion looks like that could be the support.
Now, you see, I really do like the Sion support. However, Sion support should have been first rotation, because if you do, you don't know whether it's going support, top, or mid, and now TOP have to counter it.
I mean, yeah, like, is it really going support? Something I forgot to mention is that we can also see the Ornn support. So there's a nice couple of flex picks coming in from OMG, and TOP, this kind of slows down and screws up their ban phase.
Well, you know, Five has been known as more of an Ornn player than he has been known as a Sion player. Hasn't picked that up in competitive yet. Almost certain that Xiang should be leaning towards that direction. But over on the other side, a Trundle has been locked in as the response.
So, against the Ornn, that is more likely no Camille. And if Philo decides to take this one through, still playing with the minds of TOP and us, but the expectation's there, and that will actually be a Sion top. 10 seconds to lock that in, and going against the Trundle. We know the Sion builds now, I mean, it's starting to incorporate Banner of Command. We're starting to see...
Everybody does.
...the Righteous Glory, but the Comet for in lane. We'll have to see how Marin can stack up against OMG's top laner, because we know there's a lot of experience on this roster, and Xiang, definitely no stranger to the Sion top.
You certainly mentioned it. I mean, going into a Trundle, the Comet is going to be so strong in lane. Trundle really turns on once he gets his level 6 power spike, and he can 1v1 pretty much anybody by himself. Trundle is, of course, the best duelist in the game. However, before then, if Sion can poke out, with both his E and also his Q in conjunction with the Comet, it might be too much to bear for this Trundle, who doesn't actually heal that much with his passive early in the game.
Well, TOP, they're in the basement right now, 1-9. And it's been
The basement.
It's been a shaky start. I mean, living below, and when you're about 28 years old, you start thinking, gotta get out of the basement, gotta get up.
If you're looking at OMG and you're saying that they're in the basement, then the only team that is below them in the standings is, of course, TOP. Where are they? The sewer? Right now, they need to climb out of it. Climb out of the swamp that they've got right now and beat OMG. Because quite frankly speaking, like we touched on right before Champ Select really started, OMG is going through the biggest slump that they've possibly ever felt. And in my opinion, this is looking like the weakest iteration of their roster to date.
So for OMG, such a strengthened organization. A challenge awaits in TOP. Again, 1-9, but OMG still holding a point ahead. You can see the support is out for OMG in the crowd, and let's see if that transitions into their benefit. OMG taking on TOP, another best of 3, and we'll be looking at those junglers to see if the Camille jungle can get ahead early.
Well, it's a Camille into Kha'Zix, so believe it or not, but when you pick aggressive into aggressive scaling and hyper carry, what you do is you actually play a little bit more defensive. You wait for the other person to necessarily show themselves, potentially make a mistake, and then you capitalize off of it. It's actually quite the opposite, where if you go a tank jungler, you go more aggressive because you're a tank and you know that if you make a mistake, quite often you can actually get out with your life. But going back to this initial matchup, man, if ever there was a time for TOP to really prove themselves, coming in from one of the teams that was highly disputed last year, you gotta say, picking up these remnants of players everywhere, can they forge a new legacy for themselves? This is a good time to start.
Well, especially since, you know, for OMG and for TOP both, this is probably one of the easy opponents they're going to go up against, or one of the most challenging in its own regard, but bottom of the standings. And at the moment, you know, there's only a couple of teams like Vici Gaming and Mixture down in the bottom. TOP, they're looking to prove something here, and I think it's in their previous weeks that they've shown that they have some individual prowess. It's just, again, like Vici Gaming, like some of the other teams that we've seen in the bottom tier of the LPL Spring Split, there is that level of, can they coordinate a play as efficiently as someone like, you know, Rogue Warriors, RNG, the more experienced rosters?
Well, if we're going to be comparing this team to the likes of, for instance, Vici Gaming, we saw the other day, the one problem that they had was that they just didn't make any decisions. Now, for TOP, they do. They make a whole lot of proactive plays. The only downside is that it might not necessarily be the correct plays that they're calling. They haven't brought on the legacy of the Dan bot lane from last year, where 20 minutes, Baron spawns, and believe it or not, but the team is on Baron and immediately busting it down. They've foregone that strategy, which right now would actually suit them very much. I'd say go even more cheese than that. I'd say if you're trying to pick up wins for the sake of picking up wins, then now is the best time possible to try all of these cheesy strategies that you pick up when you go into these scripts.
And we have just been told that there is a pause, ladies and gentlemen, as we start the game. So, game 1 is going to be put on hold for a little bit. We're not going to throw back to anyone. We're just going to sit here and... I dig the headband. I mean, like, that is good crowd control.
Crowd control.
Yeah. I don't know, I was thinking like crowd support.
It is crowd support. I mean, Marin is a legacy player, used to play on SKT, used to be a world champion.
Yeah.
At that point.
Oh, his Rumble was probably my most fond memory of Marin.
You'd say that his Rumble was? I'd say that his Fiora was at Worlds. I'd say that that one was one to be remembered, although that was a Worlds that was not quite the most balanced Worlds that we've seen in history. But going off of the side of this, if you take a look at the rest of the crowd, as we took a scan earlier, they were predominantly OMG fans, very legacy fans, back in the days of when OMG proved that China could possibly be the best region in the world. Despite the fact that they're slumped, these fans are still coming out in waves to support the team.
Yeah, well, we're seeing a lot of talent throughout these rosters, and I mean, that's comfort if I've ever seen one. If you're gonna sit in a pause, you may as well do it in style. I feel like that is a jacket. That is like a mother's knitted jacket. That is not something you buy in a store.
It definitely looks handmade. I mean, if it was bought in a store, it has to be one of those hipster artisan stores where you pay like $500 for it. I would like to get my hands on it, but not at the current moment.
Well, Game 1 still waiting for it, but in the meantime, we're still questioning Marin, and we saw that Nah banned away. And I think when you see the Nah banned away from Marin, you go, oh, that's a comfort off the table.
Not only the Nah, but it was also the Legacy Fiora pick that I was talking about earlier, banned away from him as well. I mean, this is a lot of respect that OMG are currently showing their rivals, and I think that that's actually the best case scenario for a team like TOP, where they primarily pick out a whole lot of their victories out of individual prowess. So what is the most comfortable way to beat them? We'll simply take them out of their comfort zone, and they might not perform to the standard that you expect them to.
I mean, when you put Jiang, on something like a Scion, and then you run it into the top lane. I mean, Scion at the moment, the transition came in 8.2, 8.3, and for the LPL, they're still on 8.2. We're having a discussion whether they were going to Resident Sleeper, whether they were going to, skip 8.3, go into 8.4. Well, I'm sorry. Look, screw the conversation. I mean, it's almost nap time. It's definitely almost nap time.
I mean, we are casting from Australia, so it is around the afternoon. This is usually the time, especially in my college days when I used to take a whole lot of naps. Not so much now.
Well, I almost had a nap before we got here, Preacher, to be quite honest. So
what? You just woke up. How do you take a nap after that?
Up,
It's just
I
called
got up
extended
about
sleep.
6 a.m. this morning. I figured I'd start the day.
That's just sleeping with a break in the middle.
It's just, I know, it's just stupid. Never wake up early. I mean, you're just going to go back to sleep anyway. But I have been told we are about to get into game. How do you know? Well, Hysterics has a mouse. He's hovering over it. And it is a long way away, ladies and gentlemen. Long way away. I love you all, but we are, of course, going to give you extra production value by skipping forward. This is all live, by the way, and we are not in China. TOP taking on OMG. Here we go. The wait is over. I'm glad I could skip that for you. But we were still talking about that Scion in the top lane and going up against the Trundle. Both not S tier, but definitely the niche picks.
Well, we will have to see how that's executed. I don't really think that top lane's going to be a place that we really should focus on too much.
Look, it never is, but we still have to focus on the fact that the Scion and the Trundle will be impacting these fights. Scion more so. As we jump on Summoner's Rift, the teleporting play is going to be extra crucial in this game.
Especially from the Scion. I mean, the ultimate coming out from that Scion is never one that you could scoff at, and you always have to be wary of that sort of trade. Very interesting though, we need to start talking about what these two team compositions want to do, and they mirror themselves in a whole lot of similar ways. I mean, you got the Talia versus the Galio. Both of them want to get to level 6 and then roam potentially to the bottom side of the map, potentially top, if there is a play called by either one of their two junglers. But until then, it is really up to the Camille and also the Kha'Zix, while they still can on 8.2, to get some vision down to make sure that nothing tricky happens to any of their lanes, because these lanes are all volatile, especially early on.
And with bruiser junglers, with junglers that can scale and snowball themselves ahead. Which lane we're looking at, because Goong is on the Galio, will be tanky early. Still with a Talia level 3, even though it is a Galio, I would expect Fire Lolly to be prioritizing mid.
You definitely have to. I mean, if you take a look at the keystones available as well, the Galio has opted to go for the Unsealed Spellbook. No natural defenses early on, except for the heal. If you manage to lock up the Galio, who can't escape any other way. But here's a very cheesy gank.
So maybe not. The flash immediately burnt level 2, and they get a big first blood for TOP.
I mean, can you get any cheesier? This is what this whole team is made out of. You think that you're looking at a moon? Sorry, that is just a big piece of cheese in the sky. Xiang gets
teleport back. I was expecting some cheese from XX, but he'll back off all the same. And TOP with that early start, I mean, Fire Lolly will try and impact, and this will be a bit of a doozy if it plays out.
I cannot believe Fire Lolly's coming up now, Hysterics.
Okay, so Marin doesn't want to be near a wall, tries to get away. There's a hook shot, lands, trying to get Marin. The electrocute's there, but no response kill, and that'll be the big one.
That really hurts. I mean, it worked on one side. You would imagine that it would work on the other, but unfortunately, no flash available for Xiang. Fire Lolly holds onto his own, and they just allowed Marin to walk so far that they could not chase any further. So, once all that's said and done, one gank into the top lane for both of them, but it worked out so much better for XX, despite the fact that he had to burn his flash.
So teleport burn for each as well, and that means no summoners up in this top lane. Fire Lolly lingering around still and
Round 2.
wants the revenge. And Preacher, when you said there's not going to be too much action in the top lane, I'm going to give you a chance to take that back.
I mean, all things considered, however, realistically, you would imagine that a Trundle into a Scion without any outside external interference would just be some resident sleeper that we saw on earlier. However, it's not the case at the current moment.
But I mean, early jungle pressure as well. You've got to look as one of my alarms come up. You've got to look that the more pressure you can put on that top lane, the more mobility you provide to Marin, to Xiang. And so Marin, when he has a teleport up next, maybe we see some early advantage going his way.
Could potentially. I mean, I doubt that much is going to happen in the top lane, although I have been cursed by predicting that before. But there are no summoner spells, and Fire Lolly's coming in for round 2.
Back up, the knock up here, Marin as well,
Icon?
approaching back to his turret. Icon roamed up as well. That is going to be the do for Icon, 1-1.
And this is going to be really dangerous. I mean, especially for Goon, this is going to be one of the harder lanes that he goes into. Of course, he still does have a flash available, so he can get out of Talia's seismic shove. But that is the thing that he always needs to watch out for, because if he gets caught in that, Icon can dish out some serious damage. And we were talking before about Talia roaming. Didn't even need ultimate to pick up a kill top. Once she gets her ultimate, though, that's going to be even deadlier, a compound.
I mean, this kind of sets it back as well. Xiang potentially able to freeze up in this top lane or just kind of reset the wave. And OMG kicking right back. And both junglers having an impact already in this game. Talk about how much they want to snowball their lanes. Well, it started. But scaling has got to come into question. TOP again. Still up here.
And you also got to take a look at just where the money went. The money on the side of TOP went to Marin, which means that he's naturally going to have a more dominant lane. Although into a Scion, what does that even mean, really? It just means that he's going to defend himself, make sure that you get poked out with his E regardless. Over on the other side, though, OMG managed to get it onto Icon. And now, with that huge buff available for himself, it's going to be one of the hardest lanes in history for Goon to pull off.
Well, that lost chapter was picked up on the first back for Icon. And a CS advantage actually brewing in the top lane, with 20 CS going towards Xiang. And we did talk about that teleport that plays, and with Infernal, the first one up.
Hold that thought, though. XX is going into the top lane. This could be something very ambitious.
I mean, Xiang not pushed up far enough. The wave is coming with him. If he sticks around here, maybe XX can get
There is a
something.
pillar, and there's no real way that Xiang can navigate around it. His flash is still down, and I'm almost certain that this is timed by TOP from the very first game.
But Xiang playing very carefully. Really, no chance at the moment. Xiang has just hit level 6.
That is a huge amount of time wasted. Inordinate for XX. Not farming, not getting experience. I don't even think he's going to come in now, realistically.
Well, Marin, he's not level 6. There's no point. XX has to back away. There is nothing on the blue side jungle from OMG that he can take. He's getting the Scuttle Crab. He's getting some vision control down. But apart from that, Fire Lolly, and we're trying to rotate up through this blue side of TOP. And 5 is with him as well. OMG rotating around the map much better in this early game.
Yep, 5 and Fire Lolly definitely get the clear advantage. Not only do they not waste time by trying to gank top lane, who just refuses to push out, but they also manage to get a whole lot of priority down onto the bottom side of the map. That's extremely important for them, given the situation that it's an Infernal Drake first. This should be one that both of these two junglers keep their eyes on. XX, in the top side of the map, should be known to OMG, because they just warded out the whole bottom side. You can take a look at the minimap. Wards lighting up the entire bottom side. You should know exactly when XX even thinks about going into the bottom side of the map. And they have a whole lot of control.
I've always been watching Signs in the past couple of weeks, and this is something they do pretty more often than not, I guess.
Well, you ult to lane to make sure that you don't TP to it. So then you have TP for a bottom lane fight. I mean, You already know that OMG is setting this up for the Infernal Drake simply because they use the ultimate to get back to lane. Xiang knows if at an instant he needs to use that in order to go down into bottom lane. Still needs to be careful though, because the pillar can cancel his teleport.
That's right, but teleport can be cancelled by many things from Xiang. Still a level up, still CS up. Top lane ends up benefiting OMG. And both junglers have gone silent on Summoner's Rift for now. Going their own jungles and
It's a cold war. It's just a battle over vision. Because while you both do want the Infernal Drake, the one thing that you want even more than taking an Infernal Drake is not having your opponents take it, which means that you just need to ward it out and make sure that you know for certain it's not getting taken.
Some smart thinking from TOP. I mean, their opportunity has been here for a while now to pick up some wins against, I guess, arguably some of the weaker teams in the LPL Spring Split. OMG with not the strongest coordination and strongest roster they've ever had. Well, not the strongest roster, Breach. You know what I'm saying?
No.
This is an opportunity for TOP. OMG potentially
Here's a flash.
Shelly now flashed on again. 5 as well. XX is here. 5 should go down. Call before God comes in, but it's not going to matter. 5 goes back into the fight, and Cat will pick him up.
There was no other direction that he could have moved into, Hysterics. Even if he did use his bellowing breath backwards, he would have still fallen in that situation, because of course it is very slow movement. Very proactive coming out of Choo Choo. Didn't actually hit his Chains of Corruption, but didn't need to ultimately, because all he needed was the distance to move up to 5. And given that XX was waiting there for the longest time, now they can finally do the objective that everybody has been looking at.
Well, this is the proactivity we've talked about with TOP, and Infernal Drake looks to be going down here as Fire Lolly is nowhere nearby. They are going to commit a teleport,
TP.
but I fear it is
Double
going to
TP.
be too late. Smite will miss, doesn't matter. Infernal goes over to TOP. Cat might be caught out. Jiang's in as well. 1 flash burn, another by the support, and jungler and support burn the flashes and get out alive.
2 flashes, still worth. It's an Infernal, and your flashes are only on a 5-minute cooldown. So, provided that TOP can make sure their bottom lane is secure, it should be all good. I mean, this was textbook. Cat comes in with XX, with his ultimate, to make sure that there's a 3v2 in the bottom lane. And there's not too much that 5 can do, because Ornn isn't too tanky, first of all in the early game, and second of all as a support.
TOP back ahead. So XX starting to move around the map, and focus seems to start lingering around bottom side. Icon now pushing Marin out of the jungle. Marin's going for a walk. I'm not sure where to. He's going to have to burn teleport to get back into lane.
And that's going to be extremely frustrating for him. I mean, given there's no real impetus for a play on the other side of the map, but still, 20 CS down in the top lane. Despite the fact that he got first blood, he's still struggling a little bit in this lane.
So he decides to stick around and can't be burning that teleport this early in the game again, especially when Xiang is going to have his up in about 1/4 of the time, well now half of the time you've got to expect from Marin. And Xiang still dominating the lane, but it's only 11 minutes in, and it seems like it's quite calculated from both teams. However, a lot of pressure around the Dragon, a lot of pressure around this top side, and mid has just been kind of facilitating. Goong now has the ultimate, so does Icon.
And would you believe, Hysterics, that the next Drake is also an Infernal Drake? I mean, if you ever wanted a game where you artificially forced action to happen in the bottom lane, then now you've got it. I mean, both OMG and TOP naturally should have their sights down onto the bottom side. Admittedly, it's a while away, but sooner rather than later, the Dragon comes up, and before you know it, these two teams will be contesting for it. So always keep your eye on the bottom side of the map, specifically regarding vision.
Fire Lolly and Goong going at it. Butting heads Icon here as well. XX jumps in. That was actually cancelled at the last minute. XX goes golden. The heroic entrance saves one, but not the other. A 1-for-1 trade. Now Icon chasing down Goong. There's the Weaver's Wall. Hops on. Hops off the other side. Goong is now on the wrong side of Summoner's Rift. Or the wrong side of the wall. Icon flashes over. That's perfect. And will find up the return kill. 2-for-1.
Well played to Icon over there. However, at the start, it was almost a bait that happened for the side of TOP, because you could see that XX went in expecting an Abyssal Voyage from Tahm Kench, cancelled in the bottom lane. You can do that from any sort of mild CC that you so provide. And Kha'Zix fell, but because of the excellent plays that came out from Icon, they've managed to even it up.
Preacher, let's see this one again because Firelolly thought he found the perfect pick.
Yeah, he thought that he found Goon by himself. 3 people came up, but the ultimate from Ezreal actually cancelled the situation. Now, XX is condemned to die, regardless of the situation. And Goon, without an ultimate, without any sort of way to escape this situation, actually holds on to both of his summoners, thinks that he can potentially make it out of this mess, but doesn't after the flash.
So Icon now 3-0. Morellonomicon, Leandre's coming soon as well. 13 minutes in, 5 trying to teleport out. I'm not sure why. He's obviously caught, but TOP will pick up yet another kill.
And more importantly, the question that you have to ask is, why was he so pushed up in that lane? Without his ADC anywhere near close, Shelly was barely at his turret. I mean, not a lot to say about that situation other than the initial positioning of 5 is very questionable.
So for TOP, transitioning into the first turret blood, that'll be key. Not picked up just yet, and Firelolly coming down to react. Looks like Icon was on his way as well. TOP will just have to back off from this one. So for TOP, still holding strong. Infernal Drake in their back pocket. Another one coming up in a minute 45.
TOP, they are in the driver's seat, although it is only 200 gold, so barely anything to sweat about. It's virtually nothing when you divide it amongst all of the members. And now, he's called the Forge God.
Okay, it's a little bit far away. XX still gets knocked up. Icon here with the seismic shot. Hasn't used it. Will still find it. With the help of Shelly, OMG. And set themselves up close for Drake.
That was every skill shot hit, Hysterics.
Yep.
Including 5. I mean, that one was the hardest one to hit of all. But the knock-up means a quarter of the health taken away from Kha'Zix. And every single Mystic shot, along with Threaded Volley from Icon, takes him down. I mean, that was just XX caught in a bad position. It wasn't really him making a mistake. It was more OMG capitalizing on a really good pick. Well played to them.
Like game of ping pong, they're just bouncing it back and forth. OMG finding these picks, and 45 seconds. XX is now back alive. Firelolly prepping for this Infernal as well. With a composition like TOP, I mean, you don't want them to have the Infernal. Yes, we did talk about Varus, and his on-hit Infernal, fine. But when you see a Kha'Zix, when you see a Galio's building AP, you see a Trundle was going to go Bruiser, well, the case is you probably just don't want them to get extra damage.
I mean, the advantage coming through for this pickup in the ADC position isn't so much the on-hit for the Varus. It's for the fact that Varus has so much control over objectives. If you are there first, and you use Chains of Corruption on people who are trying to contest you, none of them can move. And they either have to choose between getting rooted up, or simply moving away and not doing damage in the process. However, here comes an ulti.
Heroic entrance on Icon has to burn the stopwatch, should go down here immediately and get shut down. Firelolly comes in to respond, but TOP, they're one step ahead again. This is OMG. Falling behind, the game of ping pong continues.
Yep, and it's already started up, although I don't think that TOP really have any sort of worries for this dragon, because once again, they get a pick at a crucial time, and this is the intelligence coming out of TOP at the current moment. They know that they want to fight around all of these objectives, because it's been double Infernal. Next one's going to be Cloud, of course. So, what they do is, as soon as it's about to spawn, they immediately call, which lane can we potentially kill? And it just so happened to be mid, because Icon was standing way too far forward, Goon catches him out, and even Marin was there for a little bit of extra support. Just moral support, saying, go on guys, you can do it. And they get a dragon afterwards, as well as a kill.
I mean, it's starting to become an issue, especially with OMG, at these crucial moments, just not playing the game. The TOP now 1k gold ahead, 2 Infernals. Ignore Cloud for a second, Rift Herald still stands for another 3 minutes. Deep Vision's starting to get placed. TOP controlling this bottom lane, starting to find themselves ahead. And Cat, the Tahm Kench pick, I mean, it's done wonders. It has applied the pressure, and again, the consistent rock that you expect out of the Tahm Kench.
He's done excellently for his bottom lane. Now, he needs to start applying pressure to make sure that his turret gets taken down. Because the next thing that you could possibly do is, after you take down bottom turret, as TOP, you can rotate your bottom lane to the top side of the map, and then that sets up for the Rift Herald perfectly. I mean, Rift Herald is the next major objective. I don't really think either of these two teams want to play around the Cloud Drake, so they should keep their eyes on that situation. Not to mention the fact that Marin, while he did get the first blood like always, he isn't having the best time in the top lane. Usually expect Trundle to have much more of a lane presence after his level 6.
I mean, has the tier map, but no real damage items. And now top lane, definitely the wet noodle fight we wanted to see. Well, no one wanted to see. Cloud, still in the back of my mind because for TOP, they want to make sure that they get rid of that, get on to the next one for a potential Infernal. Baron now spawning in 2 minutes. Rift Herald hasn't been a priority. I think it's been a very different game than what we normally see in the LPL because it's a little bit more concentrated and a little bit less fight heavy. There's skirmishes, but there's no big fights yet.
I tend to agree with you on that point. I mean, the only fights that we did see were scrappy, but still did pick up really nice result. They were all based around the timings of objectives coming up rather than fighting for the sake of fighting, which is what we know the LPL to be more or less. So this is very smart, cool, and collected plays coming out of TOP. However, XX, he has evolved his ulti. They can't see him. See what he does here in the bottom lane.
XX lingers on QQ and Cat. Spreading out, they see Fire Lolly. XX backs away. They'll never know he was there. And Fire Lolly backs as well. So again, slow play. A little bit more methodical than we're used to seeing from these teams.
And that could be a huge problem for Hysterics. Because the game, in the current state, really does favor a whole lot of skirmishing, which is what the LPL is known to be. And quite frankly speaking, this is the reason why both of these two teams aren't in great standing at the current moment. It's because they don't take fights willy-nilly. It's because they don't take fights whenever their ultimates are up, whenever their summoner spells are up. They take it whenever objectives are up, which is the correct way to play, but will naturally get you a deficit compared to other teams who just fight you and kill you all the time.
Yeah, such a different dynamic, and now with that first Tower of Blood, TOP are ahead, but do we expect to see this continue? I'm not sure. And 19 minutes in the game, only 9 kills. I can keep going on about how different it is, but with Baron coming up, I definitely expect this rotation. TOP, 4 of them around that top side. Maybe they're going to push out, maybe they're going to start threatening.
And there is the prediction. Of course, bottom lane won so handily that they managed to take down their turrets, now rotating up to the top side. This is dangerous though. Marin needs to make a play.
Weaver's Wall runs right through the Call of the Forge God. The Call of the Forge
He
God
has
sends
flash.
him up. There he goes. Heroic entrance saves him. Devour from Tahm Kench. Marin survives, but Goong now has to flash away. Justice punches out of that situation, and OMG, they follow it up, but they get no one from TOP.
TOP, they wanted to make a play in the top side, but it was apprehended, and it almost went in the favor of OMG. You gotta say though, Marin, he is the bravest man in this entire game, holding on to his flash, even after the Weaver's Wall cut him off, even after he was getting hammered by all of these skill shots, eaten up by Cat at the very last second. Nice communication coming out from all of this team. However, the advantage always does go over to the people who won the skirmish, and OMG, they're looking to exert their dominance on the map.
So clearing away mid, OMG, now waiting for those cooldowns to come back up.
And now TOP actually have the inside track into moving into top lane. If the bottom lane of OMG want to go up and contest them, they will have to fight them for it.
Well, Icon flashing forward, very ambitious of him. X goes
Wow.
down. Icon getting that pick, but now the Abyssal Voyage, is he caught out?
TP.
TOP have to match. But immediately the TP comes through, cancelled by Ziyang. OMG get a big pick, but doesn't look like they're interested in picking up the Baron.
And now this is really dangerous for OMG because they know for certain that Xiang does not have TP. He just cancelled it in that situation. Watch this though.
But Marin, he's roamed up. It doesn't matter if he has TP because he's going to go down a 1 versus 3. Misangled from Icon, but he does eventually get the kill. And OMG are back on top.
Oh no, Marin, what exactly were you doing there, buddy? You could have easily called for an amazing play in the top side because you know that your opposing top laner cannot join, but instead, you go to contest him without knowing where the members of OMG are. That was just textbook waiting to happen.
So TOP starting to slip up here. And these are two teams that are making crucial mistakes at not the greatest time, but both capitalizing. Perspective at the moment for me is that OMG seem to be holding on quite well. The Cloud Drake goes over to them. Next one going to be an Ocean Drake, so unfortunately not their pick of the mill. But still, Star Trek add to their name, and OMG, they've got the scaling. And they got part of the scaling there, Preacher.
Not quite the full way.
not all the way, but Ezreal. Remember what I said about Ezreal, Preacher? Say it back to me.
What did you say?
One of the best scaling AD carries, yeah?
I mean, that's your opinion. In this game, he won't be doing so much damage as he will be providing utility for his team. He's gone for the Iceborne Gauntlet, so that will actually be quite handy going into a Galio who, besides his Justice Punch and also his Flash, has no real way of getting on top of this Ezreal and just will be kited to all hell. It is also to counter the Trundle, because Trundle just has no real way, no dashes or anything to get onto the Ezreal. All in all, this is a very smart build, because unless TOP picks somebody out, they certainly can't teamfight against that Iceborne.
This Baron is actually blind, however, Preacher, and OMG now only just spotted out. TOP back away.
I cannot believe that they actually tried to make the play. They took the bottom lane from Dan Gaming, brought it onto TOP, and they tried to Dan OMG. Did not work though, because it was just warded out.
Didn't work because Dan would have stuck with that. Doesn't matter if Vision's on there, they'd go for the 50-50 Baron.
Yeah, I mean, as soon as the Vision hits, you just say, well, it's already on 50% HP, might as well finish it, right, guys?
Yeah.
Was called off, and no Baron for TOP. A lot of time wasted.
Moving into the mid game, and it's definitely been a slow one. But TOP making the rotation, and both top turrets still standing, however. There are a lot of objectives on the board, and now with Death Timers raising up as we get into the mid game, next big fight, I mean, that is going to be at least 4, maybe 5 structures going down.
It could well be, although it has to still be very well executed. Goon, look at him. He's already got max stacks on his Rod of Ages. He's already got Leandry's Torment. This guy can clear any sort of wave that OMG decide to push up to him. This is the downside of going Iceborne. While OMG will be able to teamfight excellently into TOP, they won't be able to shove, they won't be able to siege as effectively, because everything would just be cleared out by Goong, and in response, not a whole lot of wave clear available for OMG.
Waiting for a pick. OMG, Goong unaware. But still a lot of vision control around this Baron pit right now for OMG. This is Icon, still looking for his pick. Something sharp will not land. You can see that the Winds of War feels a little bit. And Goong actually taking no damage from Icon. So we've gotten to the point where we're seeing 2 to 3 item power spikes, and for Icon who's 5-1, he's onto his 3rd. You'd have to expect that's going to be a Rabadon. So
here comes Marin.
Icon now caught out. We're just talking about him, but away he goes. OMG, sandwiched between their own turrets. A heroic entrance won't hit Fire Lolly, but it will corner him. The flash in the backside as well. OMG, it's a 4 versus 4 for now. The 5th very, very low in QQ, and as they back away, OMG, they'll lose their mid laner.
They still did manage to get out of the situation, so after all that's said and done, TOP come out ahead after that excellently coordinated dive, coming out led and spearheaded by Marin. Now let's see what they can potentially get out of it, because there is no wave clear available for OMG right now.
Well, there's no Rift Herald either, so OMG have to be on the defensive. Xiang, don't know why he needed a flash there, but he stuck around for way too long, and TOP really exerting their force, 3,000 gold up, and they've broke the mid lane tier 1.
This is the TOP that we've expected to see, but unfortunately it's just been delayed from the team. They're way too hesitant, because with the double Infernal, with their gold advantage, they should be pushing down much more of these fights. They know that they can take him, as you could evidently see from the last dive that they did 5-man in the mid lane that killed Icon and got themselves a turret. They just don't pull the trigger, Hysterics, and that is possibly the biggest downside that you could imagine for TOP.
I'd imagine right now that TOP be a lot of stress in to win this series, because to get themselves up to 2 points, maybe give them a bit of level heading, and they will be responded to by OMG, getting the mid lane tier 1. OMG now trying to push around this left wing, and XX waiting in the brush. Remember, Baron's still up and available, but no team interested at this point of the game. Ocean Drake will be up. See a potential fight, looking to reset that one before Elder comes up.
And you know what? TOP just need to do what they did before. Once they see some people split up, all they need to do is 5-man him, pick him out, because there's a lot of tankiness that comes out from both Cat and Marin, and there's a lot of damage that comes out from literally everybody.
Again, OMG caught out. Chelly stuck in the middle with you and doesn't know what he's going to do as he walks away. Will get knocked up, doesn't matter, with the help of the call of the Forge God. OMG backing away in TOP. This is not the first time that they've gone in for the sandwich.
Nope, TOP, they wanted to make a pick so then they could either get the Drake or the Baron, but instead, it was disengaged by the side of OMG. This is the most dangerous part for OMG, because if any of them get picked, then Baron could potentially go over the TOP, whereas on the other side of the coin, OMG themselves don't necessarily have the tools available to pick out themselves, because while you do have the long-range snipe that 5 can provide for the team in order to get a knock-up that leads the charge, that's really all that he has going for him. And if he can't hit it, well, then there's just a team fight waiting to be lost for the side of OMG. So the prisoner's dilemma tells you that you want to hold on to your ulti and not actually make
And you know what, Pritchard? We haven't seen Xiang's ulti this game. We've seen it to get to lane, but he's been holding on to it and he's almost level 16. He almost has a level 3 ultimate. There's been no engage that's been forced by OMG. Only them getting forced on, and they're going to give away this objective. That's an Ocean Drake going over to TOP. And I fear that maybe OMG just haven't been as proactive this game.
They don't want to use any of their ultis because they want to save them for team fights. Guess what? If you don't call a team fight, it doesn't happen. Here's the call.
Call of the Forge God. That's not a force whatsoever. OMG push up to the turret as a 5-man unit. But look at the collapse that could potentially come in. Cat has the ultimate available over at Red Buff.
Choo-Choo is nowhere close.
They give them away the mid turret. What is going on? TOP just give it away freely.
Well, TOP, they wanted to set up a 1-3-1 with a Varus in a side lane, did not anticipate the fact that OMG would all collapse into the mid, and then they just get themselves a turret for nothing at all, because they know that the members of TOP are spread thin, and they immediately call the engage.
OMG backing in a dangerous area. TOP looking for the chase, and unfortunately they will not find it. Next dragon, remember folks, is going to be Infernal, so that is a triple Infernal potential. TOP now looking to clear.
You know how Xiang practices his ultimate, Hysterics? He trains himself.
Oh, well, that's actually pretty original. I'll be honest, that's pretty original. It caught me by surprise. I'm used to the same old garbage that we always, you know.
Wow!
Yeah, look, I mean, that's pretty fair to be quite honest. But in game 1, TOP, I mean, they've obviously been training up how to execute better on their plays because they've shown that they can kind of outmatch OMG at times. Then one slip away, and TOP, they lose that advantage. Only 2k up now. And for OMG, remember, we want to see Xiang going for the engage. Level 16 now. The choo-choo train has got so much cold.
Oh!
Great cleanse from Icon.
That was pixel perfect. I mean, he just... You wouldn't even imagine he was locked up for that duration. Gets out of the situation. Chains of Corruption. No longer available for Choo-Choo. They wanted to make a pick so that they could rotate into the Baron. Once again lost.
But remember, at this stage of the game, Preacher, Cleanse is a longer cooldown than Chains of Corruption. So TOP won't really care about that. They're positioning around Baron. Maybe this is the go button.
Yeah, but it's just not going to happen again. I mean, now that you know that there's no cleanse available for yourself if you are Icon, you just wouldn't stand in that situation. You wouldn't stand for it at all.
31 minutes in. 6 apiece. I think one of the slow games, I cannot press to you enough that this is a slow game. If you watch League of Legends anywhere else, you'll say that this is a pretty slow game.
Especially the LPL.
In the LPL, yes. You'd say that this game is like a hare sitting on a tortoise's back. You don't know why you're doing it. Well, no, let's put it in a better way.
I'll wait.
You don't know why you're on the tortoise's back. You thought you were going to enjoy the journey, but you're like, well, this is slow. What else is going on?
Well, I'll give you a better one. Right now with the lead that you can see TOP have for themselves, not only the gold, but also the double Infernal and the Ocean Drake, and their superior positioning in the top side. They're like a turtle on a post. They have no idea how they got up there, they don't know what they can do when they're up there, and they certainly have no idea how to get back down, so they are just completely lost in every facet.
Yeah, see, that's much better. Speaking of getting lost, I mean, that was my journey through my story. 32 minutes, TOP.
Getting lost is the story of Echo Fox Academy.
Oh, yeah, well, no, that was just garbage, I'll be honest.
I was trying.
Yeah.
It's a very slow game, Hysterics.
That was the issue.
It's a slow game. You got to give entertainment where you can.
TOP waiting around Baron. 0-1 and 3 on this Galio. Not much we've touched on the mid lane because it's all been about Icon, who has the Void Staff and now might be building towards that Rabadons. But for TOP, Spike definitely lying on where that Varus sits at the moment. 4th item incoming. And team fight. Who takes it? Who wins it? Whose cuisine reigns supreme, Preacher? That's when you say, it's the Iron Chef. No?
No.
No.
I got nothing for you. I mean, I'm trying to think about which one of these two compositions is spicier. I'd say that the spiciest pick is possibly the very bland Xiang with the Scion, who has a lot of potential to shake things up, but hasn't actually used his ulti like you mentioned before, which means there's not a whole lot of variety that comes to the Spice one.
TOP is slowly starting to sip away at these resources. 4k gold lead. And now pushing up. Baron, still a big opportunity, but no one going to force the engage. I say that Cat has been caught out, Call the Forge God. This is a dead time. Kenj now 5v4. Is the go button there?
Not too certain why they wanted to do this. Now Choo-Choo is caught.
Icon, he's missed the ultimate, but Icon's still taking so much DPS. Misses away from the E. Varus will go down. That stopwatch wasted. Uppercut to the face, not given. Shelly will get another. It's a 3 versus 5. Go get the Baron, boys.
And realistically, there was no real way that Icon would have lost that fight. I mean, even though he managed to take this one down, he does get out of the situation. Because as soon as Cat is caught out, you know for certain that nobody can protect Choo-Choo. And OMG, when we get the Baron, they do go and try and get themselves
There's
in
very long death time as Cat is up in 5 seconds, but QQ not until 25
There is
seconds.
an Abyssal Voyage, though.
But it's still 4 versus 5, Preacher, and everyone is here. XX waiting on the side. Is the steal a potential? There's so much CC. 2k health. XX now waiting to go in. The knockup does find the mark. The smite lands. Mara now in off the side. Can OMG survive? A 5 versus 5, non-existent. It's 4. Call of the Forge God, ready to knock up. Will in the backline. XX 1v1's Icon and wins. Cat now back in the fight, only to die again. Chelly cleaning up the fight. 4 versus 2. Goong flashes in. Will find it. And TOP have managed to equalize in a fight that was not in their favor.
And they actually get an advantage in this situation. Hysterics, the back is cancelled.
Mara now waiting patiently. He knows that Chelly is there. But Baron will be snatched away from 2 members, and Marin able to sit mid and might be able to find a response.
What an amazing play coming out of Goong after they lose the Baron because of the excellent knockup provided from Xiang. Get to watch it again. XX wants to steal it, but here comes a knockup, and he just can't do anything because he's CC'd while the smite comes in from the side of OMG. Now everybody's trying to fight, and you got to keep your eyes on Goong because he is really the MVP in the middle of this whole ordeal. He's currently locked up, but because he has so much AP, his abilities do way too much, and they start ripping through the team that we don't actually get to watch.
So TOP, they do hold on, but Baron buff still goes over to OMG. And you have to say that, I mean, this Baron buff is still going to be so vital. 1500 gold plus whatever OMG can do with it. There's a top tier 1, there's a bottom tier 1, and Xiang should be able to solo push this. And OMG getting more resources on the board. Elder Drake coming up soon. A triple Infernal, as we missed. Preacher was actually taken solo by QQ. Now they're going to find Marin. Knocked up, flashed away over the wall. And this avoids used as well. TOP under threat in the bottom tank.
And that's a huge punishment, because now with no flash available, how did TOP really defend this situation? Marin's going to find a hard time getting into any sort of fight.
Well, Marin hasn't altered just yet. The heal not available. QQ takes all the damage from the True Shot Barrage. Shelly ready to go forward, but doesn't need to. Bannon minion pushing up. Sorry. Bannon. What's it called?
Baron.
That's it. It's you yesterday saying Bannon.
Because it's a good name. I mean, if you've got a better one, tweet at Papa Smithy. He was the one who asked for it.
Okay.
Current moment, there is none that surpasses Bannon, but there is no banner of command coming out. Although it could potentially be built. Xiang, he has got himself an Aegis of the Legion in his inventory. I do look forward to it because there still is a minute left on the Baron buff, but I don't think you can complete it in time.
So for TOP getting pushed up, the bottom lane now exposed, and only the inhibitor turret left remaining. You have to say that the window of success for OMG has been sitting with Chelly and Icon. And of course the Ornn pick from 5, but Jiang, have we seen the ultimate? Like, where is it? I don't remember seeing Jiang ult.
He's always holding on to it because he wants to find a perfect situation. They don't come freely, and if you don't use it, then they don't come at all. So
It would have used it in the last fight.
you would imagine.
Not in the bottom lane, but around the Baron pit.
You are correct.
You'd have to think. We're going to pay close attention to that one in the next fight. Baron up in 10 seconds. Well, out and up in 10 seconds. And OMG, they managed to equalize a little bit, but they didn't get too much of a reward from this Baron, and that's partially because TOP shut them down right at the Baron bar.
Well, it's not too bad, actually. They managed to get 3 turrets, 2 in bottom lane, 1 in top lane. They managed to get quite a decent chunk of gold. If they managed to go back and buy with that advantage, you would have to imagine that they are sitting much closer to TOP. Although, even though we say that, TOP is still further ahead of them, both in terms of gold and also in terms of the triple infernal, which gives possibly about 5k extra gold to them at this point.
So many more base stats improved by this triple infernal. TOP positioning around the bottom side, looking for a pick. See the red buff is now available. Chilling, might not be able to secure this one. TOP great zoning, we'll go over to XX.
Picks it away for his team. I think the one thing that you definitely need to point out right now, Hysterics, is the fact that Choo Choo, if he gets his passive off in the middle of a fight, he's actually sitting on 2.5 attack speed with all of his items that he's built right now. Everything that he's built has attack speed. So the fact that this Varus is allowed to free hit in the backline is quite a punishment for OMG. None of them can really necessarily get onto him because the only diver that they have is in Fire Lolly, and if Fire Lolly gets onto the side of Choo Choo, there's a Tahm Kench ready to eat him up, but there's also a Galio ready to torn him off. This is an ADC who's effectively allowed to free hit.
And almost onto his last item. That is punishing. Now let's watch the damage come out, because
There's the ulti from Xiang to get out.
for the Forge God, there's going to be a big knockup. 4 members. OMG collapsing in. Cat devours. Shelly at half health. Watch the backline of OMG. It's very, very dangerous for them to go on a fight. Disengage immediately. TOP. This is part of their team composition. They can get out quick. They should be able to heal with the Ocean Drake. But they know Baron's up in a minute 30 and the positioning begins.
And would you believe that this is the most volatile part of the entire game, Hysterics? Get your hype hat on, because in 1 minute, both Elder Drake and Baron will be coming online, and both of these two teams, they need to make a choice. Do they go for one, or do they go for the other? Because OMG are currently poised to go for the Baron that is coming up, but 4 dragons on TOP with an Elder Drake. You double the your Infernal Drake's effects with Elder Drake, as well as the Elder Drake effect itself. That's a lot of ADA.
TOP. This is the thing. Do OMG want to deny that Elder Drake? Or are they going to risk the Baron and say, hey, we'll just wait 90 seconds. Teleport in from Marin. OMG. Back at this Baron pit. TOP looking for the flank. Sorry, for the gank. For the pank. I don't know. Top lane now caught out. Fire Lolly gets one off. We'll find the other. Slowed down. TOP though. They've been out rotated. Here is OMG. They get all the outers down.
And that should roughly even up the goal for themselves, but it is still a huge deficit available for both of these two teams. Now we got to watch out for vision. There is supreme command from top on this Elder Drake, and they've started.
Baron isn't up for another 5 seconds. I think TOP are just that much quicker. Look at OMG, they're moving to the top side, but I feel like TOP, they're going to be there in time.
Yeah, they can just move straight to it, Hysterics. This is so dangerous.
So this is a 10k now with the Elder Drake.
Baron's ahead.
48% damage breacher, or 36. I did not do math. It is going down super quick, and with that Weaver's Wall, great zoning. OMG, Baron versus Elder. TOP want to fight. 5 is the first target. Support, no! He's actually just knocked himself back in. TOP get a free kill, and OMG have got to be clenching there. As TOP will look to chase, but OMG lose 1 Baron buff.
And now let's see what TOP can do. There are still turrets, which means they haven't broken the piggy bank. Now they do, and they can get a massive influx of gold for themselves, as 5 is still down for half a minute.
Remember that they can go in for the engage, then get back out. They've essentially got a double Ocean Drake. TOP still finding the fight. This is essential. OMG backing off. Great redemption to heal them back up. Marin, not as tanky as he thought. OMG, hold on for now. Next wave coming in. It doesn't look like TOP want to crash in with it.
They just back off from this situation, which is actually not the best thing that they could possibly do, because the Elder Drake is available to himself. Let's watch this again. Marin is spearheading the whole operation, and just watch what happens to 5. He flashes, but then gets bought back by his own team. Hands in the air, you just don't care. This is a situation that you cannot get out of.
So TOP, after getting that free kill, their Elder will wear off pretty soon, but Baron has another 2 minutes left in it. And for Goong, he's been kind of the core part of the engage with the help of the pillar from Marin. So I have to fear right now for TOP, because once their Elder runs out, OMG, they're going to push, and they're going to push quick.
You're correct. At the current moment, TOP, they need to make a play, and they need to make it pronto within the next minute, or else they run out, and their advantage starts swinging over to OMG once again. They have the tools to make it happen. They got Chains of Corruption. They have Abyssal Voyage to catch him out, with a potential Galio ulti to follow. They just need to pull the trigger, and if ever there were a time for this team to show that they could do it, it has to be now. Because if it's not now, then it's never.
And with these elongated fights, the double ocean comes into effect. And for QQ, who has the Bloodthirster and the Blade of the Ruined King, I mean, QQ just won't die as long as he has Goong in front of it. This is the big moment for TOP. They're looking for the engage. Scion's out. There you go. There's the ulti. We've seen it. Well
and
done.
it's finally used to the effect that TOP no longer have any of their escapes. Nice dodge.
Nor do they have the Elder Drake anymore. TOP have found themselves in a corner. Goong with the ultimate uses a stopwatch. OMG 4 members strong. TOP looking for the engage. That was Chains of Corruption. 55 seconds left on Baron.
And now with the advantage going over to OMG, I doubt that they can get anything for themselves. That Baron wasn't so much to get some objectives. That Baron was to hold out and make sure that they didn't lose after all that was said and done, and the Elder was taken away from TOP. Now, everybody's trying to collapse down onto the bottom side, but there's nothing here for them.
Baron off on the side. Elder Drake, that'll be coming up. Baron shortly after, still have 25 seconds left in this buff. It's been such a close game with items pretty much maxed out now as we hit that 80k gold mark. Still a lot of resources on the map for TOP to take down. We've still got those inners, the top side and the bottom side. Baron's going to wear off in 5 seconds, and decision making again has to be questioned for both of these teams.
Both of them.
When they have the Elder, there's no proactivity. When OMG have the Baron, they're in a very similar position. Both of these team compositions, they want the pick, they don't want the fight. And
it kind of looks like OMG are looking to scale to the ultra late game, because of course when you get up to about the 45-50 minute mark, you're thinking about the Ornn upgradable items. There is a circlet of the Iron Solari that is picked up by Xiang. There is also, you're really testing me here, Hysterics, a Trinity Fusion for Chelly.
Nice.
He sold his Iceborne Gauntlet in order to get it, which is actually quite dangerous because it now means there is a huge avenue for Marin to get onto him without any necessary...
But it is an issue. I mean, you have a full tank in Scion who's just, you know, upgraded his locket with the help of Ornn. You've got the Ornn who's going to be in the front anyway. So really, when you have 3 damage sources and you have a Bruiser and Fire Lolly, I feel like this is a great transition. Chelly has the armor shredding. And there are 3 tanks on TOP. You need damage alongside that armor shredding. If you go passive, what are you going to do?
Makes sense, but let's see if it pays off for them. Because it's always a dangerous situation. Now, it's all up to fine execution. None of these members of OMG can possibly get picked out, because if they do, then it could just be game over for them. Still,
wow.
Advantages.
That's
Chelly.
Aggressive from Chelly. He goes forward. Maybe he wants that Iceborne Gauntlet. Getting low, has to flash over. Help with the shield. Call the Forge God. Gets 1. It's not proactive enough. That seems to be the theme word of today. 5 has to flash out as well. Someone is being burnt left, right instead of 5. The first one to go down. TOP on the backline though. Goong. He's been flashed on. Icon over the wall. Aggressive again. Weaver's wall knocked back. Icon not where he wants to be. Devoured, spat out like apparently the garbage he will be for this game. OMG over the wall, but not back again. They lose everyone except Jiang and Chelly, and now the TP to go mid and try and push for the win.
And that was all instigated by Chelly using his arcane shift forward into that fight. All of a sudden, you call for Xiang to defend you with his Q, which means he no longer has that to defend anybody else, and TOP completely run over OMG as now they're looking to break the base.
They don't need the Baron, they do not need the Elder Drake. They have 30 seconds on the most crucial member, that is Icon. Maybe they get the inhibitors, maybe they play it safe, but look at Trundle. Marin has just run mid. They want to end this game.
They have no way of defending, and now with these huge death timers...
Xiang, a 1 versus 5 does not seem to be in the cards. XX is out, but Chelly, he might be out as well. Chomped down, delivered to TOP, and game 1 will convincingly, in the end, go over to them. But really, OMG struggling out, and TOP closing.
Oh my word, Hysterics. That was OMG not looking to pull any triggers because they were looking for the fabled 6.5 items with an Ornn on their team. Did not come to them. They just got collapsed on by TOP, and despite the fact that the game was slow, TOP still do close it out for themselves.
Have to think that for TOP, this is the start of something great. Against OMG, against still a crowd favorite despite their winnings. You have to look at how TOP played. More proactive, more controlled, and it was a slower pace of game, but it still was TOP's game for the majority there.
Yeah, TOP, they were always in the driver's seat. They got the bigger one of the two objectives. They always looked like they were more proactive, and they just won.
TOP taking game 1, but we're going to throw it back to you guys on the desk for your breakdown of that game.